What is up, everybody? It's your boy Doody back again with another video. In this video, we're going to be doing a breakdown of DSP's Game of the Year award ceremony or episode. And this year, our boy Phil decided to do something a little bit different. Instead of just cutting a video and posting it, he decided he wanted to take one of his streams and do the most disappointing games of 2025. And as we know, that happened. That was an utter failure. No one cared. No one watched. No one supported. He didn't hit his goal. And of course, Phil was extremely disappointed that no one gave a crap, So he was supposed to do the most disappointing show. And then on the next stream, he was going to do his Game of the Year awards, right? And after the poorly received, disappointing Game of the Year episode that he created, he decided to punt on Game of the Year, and he waited roughly 3 weeks and decided, okay, my dents are asking me for this. My hardcore dents that have TISM just like him, they need me to complete this project, as Phil likes to say. So he broke down and said, well, you know what, I'm not going to dedicate an entire episode, because no one's going to support. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take the morning show, which is aka the podcast, and I'm going to do it there, and I'm just going to run by it. I'm just going to give the name of the game that I think is great and give you some lame excuse or lame reason why he believed it was the game of the year or one of the game of the year. And he actually knocked the list down. So initially I think he was looking to do maybe a top 10 or top 15. Well, because he didn't want to take that much time to do a proper show, he decided to do the top 8 game of the year, which is really weird. I don't know how you can have 8 games of the year. Typically it's one game, but we have DSP here and he needs to milk it for some odd reason. So anyway, I want to give a big shout out to Jay Gannon, big ups brother. I follow him. If you don't follow him, he's Jay Gano 24 on Twitter. He does an amazing job tracking every single donation, tip, membership, super chat, kick, everything. He does a breakdown. He does a report every week, and that's typically what I use for the most part to do my number crunching. And I want to give a big shout out because he actually went back and pulled all of the data for the games in question. So he went back, and what he did was he pulled all of the financial data for the Phil's most disappointing or worst game list, right? And he was curious, why specifically did DSP rate these as disappointing? Well, shockingly, well, not shocking to us, it seemed like the biggest factor on whether a game was good or bad seemed to hinge on support. That's right, shockingly, it seemed to just simply hit on support in Phil's eyes. And good God, man. Jesus Christ. And anyway, the data that he pulled here actually supports this hypothesis. You know how DSP likes to do experiments, right? And he'll do an experiment, get one data set, and then build a whole philosophy on it. Well, we have months and months of actual physical, tangible, quantitative data here wrapped up in a nice little table, Excel table file. And it gives you raw information. So what I wanted to quickly do was I wanted to first go through the financial data for DSP's most disappointing games. And you're going to see a trend here. This is what Phil decided was disappointing in 2025. And as you can see here, he had it looked like a top 16 most disappointing games. And here, as you can see, the first thing I want to point out is for every game title, you want to look at the number of streams DSP had, right? 2, 6. I mean, look, Mind's Eye, he had 2 streams. Avowed, he has 6 streams. Lost Record, he had 4 streams. Assassin's Creed, 3 streams. Enzo, 2 streams. South of Midnight, 1 stream. I think this is, not sure what this is. Let me see. I can't really see it. 1 stream. Donkey Kong Bonanza, 10 streams. I mean, he that was a little bit longer. RoboCop, Rogue City, which was a pretty decent game. 1 stream. Silent Hill, 6 stream. Hades, 2 streams. Hades 2 streams. Call of Duty Black Ops 7, 13. Mortal Kombat 6. Outer Worlds 2. 2 streams for Outer Worlds 2. Metroid Prime 4, 2. Mario Kart World 8. Okay. First thing I'm going to say is a lot of these games are garbage. They are. They're pure garbage. Enzo was garbage. Lost Records was garbage. Assassin's Creed was garbage. Mind's Eye was garbage. Avowed was alright. You know, a lot of these games are garbage. Donkey Kong Bonanza should not be on that list. That was a very fun game. It was a little padded, yeah, but it was a very fun game. That should not be listed here at all. I'm sorry. Hades 2 is a great game. Hades 2 should not be here either. Okay? Call of Duty is Call of Duty. You know, there's nothing you can really do about it. It's Call of Duty. It's the same shit every year. So if you like first-person shooters, you're gonna like Call of Duty regardless, right? Mortal Kombat Legacy Collection, yeah, it's old rehashed content with slightly improved graphics. Outer Worlds 2 is pretty good. I mean, there should be no reason why Phil need to do 2 streams of Outer World. Outer Worlds 2 is pretty good. And that was a Game Pass game. You're not paying anything for it. Yeah, okay. Metro Prime 4, garbage. Mario Kart World was fucking fun. I still play Mario Kart. It's great. Only reason why it's there is because, of course, people trolled him and made him look stupid, and he was bad at the game, right? Okay. So you notice a trend here, right? I mean, I'm gonna say at least half of these games are, yes, pure garbage. I get it. I understand why, right? But the other half are pretty decent games, you know? And the one thing you're gonna see here is the number of streams is extremely low. I mean, he played these 16 games only 69 times. His total tips was a little over 3,000, almost 3,400 bucks in tips. Super chats, $4,310 in tips. YouTube memberships, he got a total of 262. Kick subs, 485, right? Kick bits, 371 total. His raw total here was $11,538 for 69 playthroughs, okay? So if you want to do the breakdown of that, what you do is you take that grand total, right, of 11,536, and then you break it down by 69. So he literally made about $160 on average for each playthrough, right? That's what he made here, $167. That's literally what he made. And then, of course, once you adjust for fees and all that, and you take that away, you know, he walked away with roughly about, you know, I'm gonna probably say he walked away with about, you know, about $5,000 or $6,000. That was his total for 69 streams, right? So if you look at it from that perspective, right? If you take the $11,538 and then you deduct the fees and everything, right? Which was 98. That's YouTube's cut, all that stuff, right? You take all that stuff out, right? So it's let's see, 1158 minus 9808. No, I'm sorry. The fees adjusted, he ended up walking away with 9,800 bucks. So 9,800 bucks, right? You take the 9,800 bucks, you divide that by 69. He walked away with $142. Okay, which isn't bad. I mean, $142 for per average per stream isn't bad. Now it didn't hit Phil's goal, his magic number of 150, right? Okay, so that's what he did. So again, you notice a pattern here. You notice a pattern that every game he decided was disappointing. It seemed to be the reason why was because he didn't get the proper support, which means he wage quit these games. Every single one of these games, he's wage quit. He didn't finish the game. I think he may have finished one game. Mortal Kombat, I think he may have finished. But everything else here, he didn't even finish. He just decided to wage quit, you know, either at the very beginning or midway or whatever. Okay, so we established a pattern here that his most disappointed games were tied to support, right? Now, you might say, well, that might just be, you know, a, you know, it may be a coincidence, right? Okay, you might say it's a coincidence. All right. So yesterday he did his top 8 games of 2025, right? His top 8. Lo and behold, look at here. All right. So 8 games versus 16 games, right? For these 8 games, he played them 145 times. So he did 145 streams, right? He ended up pulling in $31,000, a little over 31,000. So he made double. He made triple. He made triple what he made on his most disappointing games. And he played it more than twice, 140. He played it 145 times, right? Now, yeah, a lot of these games are good. Clear Obscure, I agree, probably game of the year. Hollow Knight Silksong was really good. Blueprints was just god awful. That was god awful. That was a clear game where Phil played it because it made him money. Chronos New Dawn is okay. Arc Raiders is great. He wage quit Arc Raiders too, by the way. Death Stranding 2 was pretty good. It was pretty good, I give that. Tormented Souls 2 was okay. And then Pokemon Legends is just boring. It's just extremely boring. But again, what I want to show here is that the reason why Phil selected a good amount of these games was strictly tied to performance. It was tied to performance. It was literally tied to how much money he made. You know, $31,634 for 145 streams versus $11,000 for 69 streams. I see a pattern there, brother. I see a pattern. The pattern is that you tie how good a game is by how much money you can get out of it. And of course, we all know this. Anyone in the Snortex knows that's how Phil ties everything. Everything is tied to financial goals, and that's all that matters, right? But the reason why I'm pointing this out is because I just want to show people that, look, man, if you don't believe detractors because you think detractors are just haters, and you don't believe what they say because they're just detractors and they're gonna spin everything negative, you can't argue with data. It's very difficult to argue with data, and none of this is cherry picked because this came straight out of Phil's mouth. He specifically said what games he thought were disappointing. He said what games that he thought were game of the year. And Jay Gannon basically just went in and pulled the financial data and showed this. He correlated the games Phil played with whether they were disappointing or whether they were game of the year contenders. And he showed exactly how much financial compensation Phil received. So it's almost like Phil went back and he decided, wow, this game is great because it made him money. I mean, really, come on now, Phil. Blueprints was straight fucking garbage. Hollow Knight was fine. That was a good game. It was a decent game, whatever. You know what I mean? Clear Obscure is probably the only game here that was great. Everything else was pretty mid. Honestly, everything else was pretty mid here. Clear Obscure was a good game. I give you that. But everything else, mid. Mid. But again, you know, I would argue that Arc Raiders should be higher up on this list. Arc Raiders should be third probably. You know, but of course, Phil can't do that because Arc Raiders, he decided to wage quit it because support waned. Again, it's just you know, it's just easier. It's just so funny when Phil comes out and he argues and complains and said, no, it's not about money. It's about engagement and viewership and all this other shit. It's not really all about money. That's bullshit. It's about money. It's literally all about money, you know, because Clear Obscure, no one watched it. By the way, no one gave a shit about Clear Obscure. He did have a financial backing for it. Like there were 2 or 3 dents that would support it every stream. But no one cared about Clear Obscure. He was streaming to like 110 people for Clear Obscure. No one gave a shit. So if it's true what Phil says, you know, that he takes into account engagement, viewership, and support, Clear Obscure to him should have been one of the most disappointing games because no one gave a shit. But since he got paid for it and made tons of money off of it, literally almost $5,000, then of course it's going to be game of the year. Oh my God, it's amazing. And again, I'm not knocking Clear Obscure because it is a pretty decent game. But again, we're talking about DSP here, and we just want to highlight the fact that he ties everything to money. He does. And this is just clear proof of what detractors have been saying for years. So, Phil, if you want to dispute these numbers, have at it, brother. I would love to see you have a podcast segment or a Q&A segment where you dispute these numbers. You go back and you look at your... Of course, he would say, well, no, this isn't true. These numbers are made up. They're fake. No, they're not fake, brother. They're not. Most of this data, you can collect it from websites, but this individual here, Jay Gannon himself, actually tracks all of this data himself every single day. He posts notes every day, and once a week, he creates these beautiful-looking table spreadsheets where he tells us specifically how much support Phil got. Literally to the penny. So anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video. I really wanted to just highlight this to show everyone that Phil's full of shit. And the only thing that matters to him, of course, is the almighty dollar or Argentinian peso, whichever one he gets. Peace out, everyone.